on different documents, and I just want to be respectful. Would you mind me asking the pronouns that I should be using?
That's what I just did before the live with you.
Oh, right. Yes, 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 yes. Right. Yeah. Do you even want to say more, Sandra? I don't mean to put you on the spot here.
No, I think these are great start points. But
Yeah.
what I was thinking was, if people are not ready to come out, am I putting them on spot
Mhm.
by asking them about pronouns? And then if they don't want to come out, they're not ready, and they have the need to be inauthentic, because I'm not ready to answer so many other questions that come my way. So it's like a double sword. Should I be asking about pronouns,
Mhm.
or just let it be? If they're displaying it, great. If they're not, I won't ask.
Yeah, it's there's a really wonderful sort of current as well under this question, and that is the well. First of all, I really commend the question and your question on it too, Sandra. There's this piece here for me about assumptions that we make, and I'm catching myself in assumptions that I'm making about people and gender all the time. And over the last so many years, I've really changed how I speak about people. So for the majority of my life, if I saw someone on the street who presented in a certain way, and then I was reflecting on that story or telling somebody, about what happened, what my day was like, I would say, "Oh, and I saw this person on the street, and he said, and there was this guy here, this woman here, whatever it may be." And I don't speak, I don't speak that way anymore. And it's not that that is necessarily, I wouldn't argue that that's disrespectful to
Yeah.
say those things, but it's an assumption that a huge assumption that I'm making. If I see someone walking down the street, or someone new comes into your office, or someone sits down at your, in your office, in your meeting, on Zoom, wherever it may be, and they present in a certain way. I see this all the time on Zoom. So much of our work is about being inclusive in remote environments these days. See this all the time when we're talking about, okay, well, let's make sure that we have good balance of gender. And we assume that somehow just by looking at names or, scanning Zoom boxes that we can balance gender. Sure, maybe we can get some approximation to it. We might not be off, but the part that's sort of at the center of it is this idea that we know how everyone identifies, and we truthfully, and we don't. So back to Drik's question about how do you ask someone, there's a lot of value of asking and making sure that we get things right, and there's also things that we can do on sort of the other end, which is just not assuming anything about people
Yeah.
unless they tell us, or unless it's comfortable for us to be asking, for somebody to be asked, and for somebody to be sharing that information.
Yeah. 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 What I hear you mostly saying is walk the talk as well. Be the first person to show yourself, and share what you need to do if you want to kind of create that safe space for people to speak up and answer. Those
Mm,
are great examples. Thank you. Thank you, Francisco. There's
yeah.
so much learning over here. Um, so as we are getting into, and I was just realizing there's so much of unconscious bias that we are tuned to, that it's a lot of work for us to be consciously opening that. And sometimes it may feel like a lot of work getting into conversations, and it may seem that it's slowing us down, but I feel it's really important to take that slow journey
Mm,
to make it right than to just go fast and have it as a flavor of the month, but
mm,
kind of miss a lot of milestones along the way.
yeah.
But when we talk about homophobic or transphobic attitudes,
Mhm.
how can I, as an employee or a professional or colleague, respond to certain behaviors, whether it's a homophobic joke or somebody saying something about somebody? How can I
Mm,
do something about when I see that action happening at work?
beautiful. Uh, so, one, thank you for asking this question, and thank you for whoever's listening, who's thinking about how do I respond to those homophobic and transphobic attitudes that they might hear in the workplace. These are the moments. I started off with policy. I can talk about policy all day long. I can talk about education and leadership and trainings and all of that, and important. It really does make a difference. We have the data on this, but so much of it really comes down to those moments in the meeting when someone says, "Oh, well, you know how those people are," or, "Well, that's kind of, you know," it's hard for me to even say the language, right? But to say these comments, and so there's a whole buffet of ways to manage them. One is to first recognize, and this one I put a giant star by, is to recognize your reaction. Recognize your reaction. And what do I mean by that? So what usually happens, I interview a lot of people around these moments. What usually happens is somebody says something in a meeting, and we feel like, oh, huh, what, wait, did I? Is that? We scan around. We're looking for facial cues of others. We're trying to think about, gosh, what should we do? And when
Yeah.
I interview people, what we're usually finding is because we are in that sort of vortex storm, overwhelm moment of, oh, what should I? Oftentimes we are led to inaction. And so the value of recognizing your reaction, and by recognizing your reaction, I mean taking a step back just for a moment and say, am I feeling awkward? Oh, I am feeling, oh, this does feel uncomfortable. This does feel weird. No, this doesn't feel right. So we recognize it, we validate our reaction, validate our thoughts, we gather our thoughts first so that you can actually feel strong to take action, and then name what you see. That looks like, this seems like it might be, or this is, or I'm not so sure about that. I'm not comfortable with this. And it can be a whole spectrum. It can be, you know, right? So even that, I have not finished the sentence, but I have come in, I have interrupted it, I have stated dissent, even sort of quietly. There's no one right or wrong way to do this. We think about that. I think about sharing this potential impact. Some people might take offense to that. That comment may perpetuate, negative stereotypes. Um, and we, of course, aren't speaking for affected people, but being able to say, this language will matter. And the last piece I think about is around this notion of offering support, and resources. So this is not a case of, I think, of uh, blame or judgment or seeing this person as bad. This is just my personal belief. But when people say these sorts of things, it's not because, this is just my belief, it's not because they are inherently bad, but they have been socialized in a certain way to believe whatever they may believe. And so there's an opportunity really for joint gesturing, sort of hands being held here, joint learning, offering support. It could be seeking support for yourself, psychosocial support, your friends, your colleagues. It could be offering support to this person or the person affected, or offering support for your team. Hey, without naming things, this happened just the other day. I was working with a team, and when we saw it as an opportunity for a brown bag around pronouns, right?
Yeah.
Instead of going just in the negative and the blame, we said, what if we spend an hour to have a conversation just about pronouns and how we can get this right? This work takes courage. To speak up takes, you might feel afraid to take these actions, but it will absolutely make a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the way you started with center with yourself, because I always feel our emotional navigator is very accurate. Even though cognitively you may not have words for it or reasons for it or awareness for it, but emotional anchor will tell you that something's not right.
Mm,
And even if though you're trying to word it and you can't get a word, even if you just say, I don't feel that's right,
mm,
or what we just said was right, or what I
mm,
just experienced right, is also a good first step
mm,
for us to go ahead and create that culture of inclusiveness, create the culture of getting people in and talking about that in a more open way and making it a conversation that people aren't afraid to get into and even ask questions in that
mm,
on that
mm.
part. Beautiful. Wow. Just realized it's a long way to go.
Mm.
Interesting. Interesting. So, I just have a quick rapid fire round
Okay.
uh, for you, and I know we've got about like 5 minutes to go, and I want to do this quick rapid fire and see if there's any questions over here.
Mm.
We're talking about awareness, right? We're doing this fire chat with you to spread the awareness, to spread this mission of inclusiveness forward. So, on that note, I have a couple of questions for you. And I know you mentioned movies and TV series. So, I want to start with that. What's your favorite movie or TV series that you think has helped positively shape the narrative around the LGBTQI community?
Oh gosh. Oh, Sandra, that one's hard. Uh,
Do you have a list of it?
I well,
It
I
can't be many.
you said rapid fire. I'm just gonna say the first one that's on the. So we're talking about being authentic. So if I'm being authentic, there are just two that come to mind that I think. Well, one is really at the top. For me, there's a show that had a few seasons that just ended called Pose, and I
Oh,
highly recommend it. It is, I would watch it with my friends, and we would just all kind of huddle around, and it's really focusing on uh, the experiences of um, mostly Black and Latinx and underrepresented, marginalized young people in the drag communities and ballroom communities and people who experienced a lot of challenges, but also lots of beauty and support and friendship. So the series Pose is just incredible. It's incredible, incredible. And if I had to name one other, my current fix is something called Love Victor that not everyone watches, but I love it, and it just debuted last week, its final season. But it's also again about representation. We haven't gone into this really, but um, it's important to think about when we're thinking about LGBTQ plus inclusion and pride and all of this, to be thinking about all the different um, experiences that people have: transgender people, non-binary people, people of color, indigenous people, immigrants, people with disabilities, for example. So for me, that Love Victor is telling a story of a young person, a young queer person who is a person of color, and it's just wonderful. It's a fun watch. It's
beautiful.
challenging. Fun watch.
Beautiful. I've got two on my list now. But by the way, I'm very glad the way Netflix and Hollywood is also including a lot of people from different societies
Mm.
and communities. I just love seeing a lot of that. It's so common for my kids.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, I know I when I grew up, it was pretty much straight movies.
Mm.
But now for me, this is normal for my kids, and I'm so
Yeah,
happy to see that
yeah,
some way media is doing something right.
yeah.
for Okay, rapid fire. Next question. What is the one thing that members of LGBTQI community dislike being asked or asked about?
Oh, uh, I would say anything where we're being asked to kind of speak for others. It really speaks to that idea that I just gave. A lot of times I'm asked to kind of speak for, the community.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's so that I guess the question that I dislike being asked is, um, especially in a sort of deeper work context of, what I can, you know, I guess asking a question where the assumption is that I know how the experiences of
Yeah.
others. So
And you're representing probably one spectrum of this huge umbrella of LGBTQI plus, but
yeah.
yes, we
As a quick example, last month I was working with a team, and it was mostly around LGBTQ plus inclusion, but a large part of my work was thinking about practices around breastfeeding in the
yeah,
workplace, and that's valid, and that intersects, and that's
yeah,
important.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Got that. Good point. What's your favorite campaign or initiative and why?
Uh,
Pride
that's
Month.
I know. Well, I really like the work that we do at OK. So that's our app where we support young people It is all free. It's available, not in every country, but it's available in some countries on iOS and App Store. I do really like, there was a new one that was just released by UNAIDS, but it started earlier in India, called the Unbox Me campaign, launched by UNAIDS in advance of International Transgender Day of Visibility back in March. And it's really about raising awareness about parents and teachers and the broader community about gender identity during childhood. It's really worth a look, more than a look.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. What's the one person you felt has done more to shine light on this issue and bring change than most others?
Oh gosh.
Who
Uh,
is that one person?
one person. I would have to say, I Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Rivera, people who were active very much around the Stonewall times here. But this might sound cheesy, but I really mean it. The one person is the one person who's listening to this right now and says, I'm going to do something. That's my champion. That's my favorite. One of my favorite advocates.
That was a
All of those
million
testimonies.
dollar answer. If there was a prize for it, you'd have got $1 million on this. You are that one person.
It's absolutely, and I mean it with every fiber in my body. It's
Yeah.
it's absolutely accurate from my perspective.
And I know you worked with a lot of organizations in doing DEI work and building that. Or name one organization that you deeply admire who's really doing this with its heart and spirit. Not necessarily doing everything right, but admire the kind of courage they're taking.
Oh, I would say I really like the work that in the United States, at least, the National Center for Transgender Equality does. Um, and I think, without naming all of them, I really think about the grassroots, the really smaller organizations that can be a really tiny team, but are doing work that really impact uh, people who are have marginalized experiences. So there are many groups, for example, working with Indigenous communities, which is really important to me, around inclusion and access and resources and all of this. So those are a couple places. But again, I really, to me, it's very much the same answer as before. It's the organization that says, I'm gonna make movement. It really, it's not, it's actually genuine for me. It really is.
Yeah, yeah. Beautiful. So that brings us to the end of our rapid fire round and all the wonderful chat I had with you. I mean, it's been an hour. Time just flew chatting with you, Francisco. Thank you so much for bringing yourself in. I'm seeing such beautiful comments. I don't know whether you can see the comments here, but
Yes.
there's some beautiful comments in the chat. Um, and of course, all the ideas that you've given in terms of TV series, people to follow. I've got people talk about how organizations, Suresh is mentioning organizations can, manage this by starting small and then scaling it, take it one step at a time and start from communication, making people feel real. I'm going to end with just one question. I feel that's left is I think Luan's asked that question. And probably we can end with this. What is the message you have to people who are still hesitating to open up?
I would say you can do this. You can do this. You can make a difference. It might feel awkward. You might be afraid. You might be unsure. But your decision to actively support your colleagues will stop them from being targeted unfairly, will prevent them from being mentally and physically and emotionally incapable of both performing but also being who they need to be. So when you take action, you're positively both shifting your work culture and sending this clear message about acceptance to everyone. And so my message is you can do this. You can make a difference. You do not have to do this alone. We are here to help you. And I mean people like me and our work, but also everyone who's listening to this, who are the other colleagues who have interests. If you feel like you're unsure of what to do, that's okay. We are here to help you so that we can collectively get things right or righter.
That's a beautiful, and that's what you do in Okay So, right?
Mm.
Is that something you'd like to share here? How people can reach out to you in Okay Show?
Yeah, okay. So is it's really focused on young people.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really working through these questions that young people are having. I think if people are interested in really getting in touch with me, the easiest way is just to Google me. I'm usually the first
Francisco
results. My name
Ramirez.
is, yep, franciscoramirez.com or FDR at franciscoramirez.com. Um, yeah, I'm always happy, even if it's I feel lots of questions about can we just have a quick 15 minutes on what do you think about this? I love that type of call. Those are the things that really fuel my week.
Yeah, yeah. Beautiful, Francisco. My heart is so full right now having this conversation with you. Thank you for taking out the time. I know it's 6:30 in the morning when we started for you, when we started this session. So really appreciate you coming over and sharing a little bit about yourself, a little bit about the work that you do, and a lot of brilliant ideas. And my wish is that we're able to have more and more of these conversations till one day we don't need to speak about it because it's just in our subconscious.
I'm here for that.
Yeah,
Thank you,
absolutely.
Sandra. It's always, always, always a pleasure.
Thank you, Francisco. And thank you, everyone who've logged in, who've put in the comments, who are listening to this or is seeing this. We truly enjoyed having you here as well. I'm going to end with Francisco's last message is yes, you can. We can all do it. We can contribute in creating a society that's more inclusive just for ourselves, if not for anyone else, for ourselves to be authentic um, and loving and compassionate the way we can. So, all the best, everyone. Have a wonderful evening, morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. And we'll catch you again in our next live series next month. Have a good day, everyone. Bye bye.